Breaking: Carney's exit triggers panic starting in Nepean. The fallout from Canada's snap election has been dramatic, and nowhere is it clearer than in Nepean, where Prime Minister Mark Carney is facing a problem that is starting to trigger real panic among local voters. It has been more than 100 days since Carney won his seat and became Prime Minister, and yet there is still no constituency office in Nepean. That means no staff, no services, and no direct access for the very people who elected him. This is not some minor bureaucratic oversight. It is the longest delay any prime minister has ever taken in setting up a local presence, and it is leaving thousands of residents in limbo. Carney's office insists they're still searching for a location that meets his heightened security requirements while also being convenient for constituents. But this explanation only fuels frustration because Canadians know that the prime minister himself will almost never step foot in that office. Constituency offices are not about glamour or photo ops. They are about service. Seniors who cannot access their pensions, veterans waiting for benefits, families struggling with immigration files, ordinary Canadians caught in bureaucratic delays. These people rely on constituency staff to cut through the red tape and fight for their cases. Without an office, Nepean residents are being left stranded, told to rely on another MP's office next door instead of their own elected representative. It is a situation that undermines the very purpose of representative democracy. The irony here is hard to miss. While Liberal supporters were busy attacking Pierre Poilievre online, calling him a parachute candidate for running in Battle River, Crowfoot after losing his old riding in Carleton, the Prime Minister himself has managed to parachute into Nepean and then immediately abandon it. Poilievre's move was strategic, necessary, and transparent. The riding of Carleton was redrawn. He lost there, and longtime Conservative MP Damien Correc stepped aside in Battle River, Crowfoot, so that the opposition leader could return to Parliament. For democracy to function, the leader of the opposition must be in the House of Commons holding the government accountable. That is not a cynical ploy. It is a fundamental necessity of the system. Meanwhile, Carney forced his way into Nepean by edging out a loyal Liberal incumbent, then took on the role of Prime Minister without delivering even the most basic level of service for his local constituents. He is the MP for Nepean, just as much as he is the Prime Minister of Canada, but he has yet to acknowledge that responsibility. The contrast is striking. Poilievre, whether loved or hated, has made his way back into Parliament and is fighting directly in the House for Canadians. Carney, despite holding the highest office in the land, has left his constituents without even a physical place to turn. Accountability versus arrogance. The difference could not be clearer. The deeper concern is whether Carney is truly committed to Canada at all. Before he returned to politics, he spent years living abroad, running central banks in Britain, rubbing shoulders with the Davos elite, and earning a fortune on the global lecture circuit. He has often presented himself as more European or global than Canadian. When the opportunity finally came to step into Canadian politics, he displaced a sitting Liberal MP to secure a safe seat in Nepean. Yet now, after more than 3 months in power, he has not delivered the bare minimum expected of any MP. This fuels the perception that Nepean is nothing more than a stepping stone, a temporary base, while Carney pursues larger global ambitions. This perception matters because Canadians want leaders who are rooted in their communities. When a senior citizen in Nepean has no office to call about delayed pension payments, or when a veteran cannot find help cutting through red tape, it is not just an inconvenience, it is a betrayal. Constituency offices exist to remind Canadians that their government is within reach, that their representatives are accountable. Without one, Nepean residents are made to feel like second-class citizens in their own country. For them, democracy feels distant, abstract, and hollow. Of course, defenders of Carney argue that as Prime Minister, his priorities must be national and international, not local. But this argument collapses on itself. Every Prime Minister has managed to serve as both MP and national leader. Every Prime Minister has opened a constituency office quickly after an election. To suggest that Carney is somehow exempt is to excuse negligence. Being Prime Minister does not erase the responsibility of being a local MP. It doubles it. Canadians expect their leader to meet global challenges while also ensuring their own constituents are not abandoned. On the other side, Poilievre's critics claim that his decision to run in Battle River, Crowfoot, was opportunistic. But what those critics ignore is the principle at stake. Democracy requires an opposition leader in the House of Commons. Voters in Battle River, Crowfoot overwhelmingly endorsed this logic, delivering Poilievre a landslide victory. They saw the bigger picture. They knew that in order to hold Carney accountable, Poilievre needed a seat, and they provided it. That is not a weakness of democracy, it is its strength. So here we are, with two competing stories. On one hand, Poilievre loses his seat, takes his lumps, and then returns through another riding to fight for Canadians in Parliament. On the other, Carney wins his seat, becomes Prime Minister, and then fails to even open an office for the people he is supposed to represent locally. One story is about resilience and accountability. The other is about detachment and arrogance. Canadians see the difference. The question that now looms over Nepean is simple. Is Carney here to stay, or is this riding just a temporary pit stop on his way back to international prestige? If he loses the next election, will he stick around as a local MP, working in the trenches for his constituents? Or will he be back on the first plane to London or New York, ready for the next high-paying global job? Many Canadians, including Liberals, quietly suspect the answer already. Breaking: Carney's exit triggers panic starting in Nepean is not just a headline, it captures the growing unease among voters. Panic is building because the Prime Minister appears absent, distant, and uninvested in the very people who gave him his seat. At the same time, Poilievre, dismissed as a parachute candidate, is back in Parliament, visible, loud, and ready to challenge him. The symbolism could not be clearer, and Canadians are paying attention. Nepean deserves answers. Canadians deserve answers. A constituency office is not optional. It is a fundamental part of representation. Without it, Carney has left his constituents abandoned, fueling doubts about his commitment to the country he now leads. The panic in Nepean is not just about an office. It is about whether the Prime Minister sees himself as one of them at all.